right, Alec and I are headed outside to watch the launch, and so we'll send it out to Megan and Mick for the remainder of the count and liftoff, and we'll see you again after the first burn of the second stage. Take it away.
Yeah, here we are at under 10 minutes from launch. Mick and I are going nowhere. We're staying inside here, inside the Mission Director Center, inside Hangar AE at nearby Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, because this is where we continue to monitor the launch team as we march towards that T0 of 5:26 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Florida Space Coast. So right now, Mick, the spacecraft team is beginning to transition the spacecraft to internal power. That's going to take a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah, spacecraft's working their procedures, verifying the health of the spacecraft, getting everything ready. They'll then transition around T-minus 6 minutes, 5 minutes. They'll transition to internal power, finish up that procedure, disconnecting from the ground power at the pad, and getting ready for launch today.
So the last time you guys were with us, the launch team has begun loading super cold liquid oxygen into the Heavy second stage that happened at T-minus 18 minutes. The next major fueling milestone that's expected at T-minus 7 minutes, and that's when SpaceX will chill down the Heavy's 27 engines on the boosters to get ready for engine startup.
Yeah, just like we talked about on the strong back, the team needs to chill down those engines so that we don't provide a thermal shock to all 27 engines. A lot of power there. We heard Daryl and Alec talking about that, getting GOES-U on its way. That's a very heavy satellite, so right on the cusp of a Falcon 9, but this Falcon Heavy is going to give a lot of performance today. And we're finishing up, Megan, as we're looking at the telemetry here. RP1 on the first stage is coming to fill levels, and LOX on the first stage is almost complete, and second stage LOX is about 50%. So we're proceeding very well with full fuel loading today, and things are going good.
That's awesome. And speaking of weather, we are launching a weather satellite, so we should talk about the launch weather. And we've been watching that in the hours leading up to our launch today. And right now we have great news to report. Launch weather is go for launch. We have found a hole within the some of the storms that are around our area. Launch Weather Officer Brian Cizik again confirming that we have found an opportunity to launch today at 5:26 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, that team worked very quickly. Brian has definitely been very busy this afternoon, but working with Charlie Meyer, the SpaceX launch director, and Dr. Denton Gibson, the NASA launch manager, they moved our window 10 minutes, and they were able to find that sweet spot in the weather today to get things done. And we're hearing that RP1 loading is complete on one of the side boosters, and things are still progressing to completion of loading the Falcon Heavy.
In total, we are going to be loading 2.8 million pounds of propellant into the Falcon Heavy rocket that you see on Launch Pad 39A here at Kennedy Space Center. Again, so far we've heard call-outs that RP1 loading has been completed in the center booster as well as one of the side boosters. We expect to hear a call-out that the third and final booster will be completed for fueling of RP1.
Yep, the team's still progressing, looking at the telemetry on the launch vehicle. Things are progressing very well. The data
negative Y, fuel load complete.
And there we hear the negative Y, fuel load complete. So two side boosters and center core are complete with RP1, and they're finishing off liquid oxygen tanking into those three boosters. We should hear that here shortly, that LOX load will be complete as the spacecraft gets ready to go on internal power and continues processing their GOES-U satellite.
As with the spacecraft, we are also expecting the launch vehicle right now to be transitioning to internal power. Again, we are launching GOES-U today, the fourth and final weather satellite in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's GOES-R series of satellites. And once operational, GOES-U will become GOES-East and provide continuous imagery and atmospheric measurements of the Western Hemisphere. It will monitor weather and environmental conditions in near real time, which is really critical for weather forecasting and severe storm tracking. T-minus 5 minutes and 10 seconds to liftoff.
Falcon Heavy tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
There we hear the tanks being pressurized for retract, that strong back or transport erector as we use to transport out. The strong back will begin retracting here shortly, and what you will see at the top of the vehicle is those arms that are around the just below the payload fairing will open up, and once those open
Strong
up,
back lower has started.
the strong back will then tip back slightly a few degrees, getting ready for launch this morning. And then as liftoff occurs, the strong back will fall back a little more to get out of the way as the Falcon Heavy leaves Launch Complex 39A.
Next up, NASA launch manager's go, no go poll, the final check to make sure the NASA team is ready for a launch that's expected in 5 seconds.
NLM, it's the LD on the NLM net with a final status check.
LD, everything's looking good on our end.
Copy that. Thank you.
Thumbs up from NASA, again, confirming that weather, right, was the big watch item, and that is not a constraint to launch right now.
Yep, the team has looked at all the data. Things continue to progress very well. Weather looks really good
LD,
out there.
NY,
and
lock NLM on countdown 1.
Dr. Gibson
LD?
Says things are good.
NASA is go for launch.
There we hear the final go for launch from Dr. Denton Gibson on the countdown net, and LOX load on one of the side boosters.
Complete.
There we hear the second call for LOX load complete on the 2 side boosters. LOX load is finishing up in the center core of the first stage booster, and then finishing up as we get down close to T0, the LOX load on second stage. So things progressing very well, Megan.
I do want to mention that Dr. Denton Gibson, this is his first launch as launch manager.
Yes, very happy to have him there. He has been doing very well as he stepped into the NLM position from his mission management position, and very happy to have him on console today as our launch manager for the GOES-U mission.
Stage 1, LOX load complete.
And there we hear the call out for stage 1. All 3 boosters now have RP1 and LOX on board, so we are just waiting for the remaining LOX to fill into the second stage LOX tank, and Falcon Heavy will be tanked and ready for launch.
And we expect them to finish fueling the second stage with liquid oxygen in about 20 seconds. With this
Stage
call out,
2, LOX load complete.
the Falcon Heavy rocket is completely filled with 2.8 million pounds of propellant.
Team has done very well to get to this point. We are so happy of everything's going, and as you can see on the screen right there, weather outside at Launch Complex 39 looks very good. We're about 1 minute and 50 seconds from launch, and the team's progressing down to get the flight computer ready to take over the launch vehicle. As you see there, Megan, the liquid oxygen being vented out, the plume from the humidity here in Florida. We get to
Ground
see
gas
that looks like it breathes, and we just heard the call out for ground gas closeouts, which is finalizing and venting the ground lines that fill the pressure vessels in the Falcon Heavy, so that they're closing off all the ground connections, turning everything over to internal, getting the Falcon Heavy ready for liftoff.
And in a few seconds, we will arm the flight termination system, and Falcon will be in startup.
Falcon Heavy is in startup.
And that means the Falcon Heavy's flight computer is now in control and will guide the rocket through the last seconds before liftoff.
SpaceX launch director, go for launch.
All systems are go to send NOAA's GOES-U satellite into space to keep a watchful eye over the Western Hemisphere, helping scientists and meteorologists to issue timely warnings and forecasts.
T-minus 30 seconds.
This will be NASA's Launch Services Program's 16th mission for NOAA.
Great partnership over the years we've had. Looking forward to this launch.
15 seconds.
And here we go. 10,
T-minus 10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.